Sacrificing self for beauty. There's a moment every man remembers, even if he never speaks of it. It wasn't sex. It wasn't heartbreak. It was the first time he saw her, the kind of woman whose beauty didn't just catch his eye, it unmade him. You know what I'm talking about. She walked into the room, and suddenly, your thoughts were no longer your own. Your pulse betrayed you. Your mind spiraled. You weren't present in your body anymore. You were orbiting hers. It didn't matter that she hadn't said a word. She didn't need to. Her presence spoke a verdict over your soul, and you believed it. You told yourself it was natural. Just attraction. Just testosterone. But if you were honest, you felt judged. It was as if the gods had placed a mirror in front of you, not to show you her curves, but to show you your own lack. Your posture changed. Your voice cracked. You weren't trying to connect. You were trying to earn. Earn her gaze, her attention, her approval. Because in that moment, her beauty wasn't a blessing. It was a throne. And like a worshiper at the altar, you bowed. Not physically, no. But psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, you gave her dominion over you. That's why her beauty felt like power. Not because she was doing anything, but because you were doing everything. Because somewhere in your story, you started to believe the oldest lie, that a man is only as valuable as the beauty he can attract, that the measure of your masculinity is the woman on your arm, that if you can make her want you, then you finally matter. But here's the truth, and it hurts. Her beauty isn't the throne. You made it one. You crowned her. You knelt. You offered up your manhood for a shot at her validation. And this is where the breakdown begins. Not in her body, but in your belief. Because what you think is seduction is really submission. And until you see this, until you call it what it is, you'll keep confusing the presence of beauty with the absence of self. You weren't overpowered. You were exposed. Let's stop pretending this is about her. Let's stop acting like her makeup, her curves, her Instagram feed are the source of your torment. That's a lie. A comfortable one, but a lie all the same. It's not her face. It's not her body. It's your fragility. We've built a culture where a woman's beauty is treated like a weapon, a power so overwhelming that men are its helpless victims. She tempted me. She's distracting. She's manipulating. No, brother. She walked by. You collapsed. This isn't a question of morality. It's a question of mastery. Not over her, but over yourself. See, beauty isn't the battlefield. You are. You're at war with your own emptiness, your unresolved insecurities, your need to be chosen, to feel real. Because what does her beauty really do? Nothing. It sits. It radiates. It exists. It's you who assigns it meaning. You who builds fantasies around it. You who projects all your unmet needs onto it. When she enters your field of view, and suddenly you're no longer grounded, that's not power she holds. That's power you gave away. Epictetus once said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Just like the Stoics said, it is not events that disturb us, but our judgment of them. Apply that to her beauty. It's not her appearance that owns you. It's your untrained, untested, unexamined reaction to it. Because a man who knows himself doesn't chase approval, he extends presence. He doesn't need to impress, he simply is. But if you've spent your life measuring your worth through the gaze of women, then every beautiful woman becomes a threat. Not because she's dangerous, but because her beauty reminds you that you've never built your own identity. And that's where the real pain lives. Not in her rejection, not in her silence, but in the fear that without her attention, you're invisible. So let's get clear. Her beauty isn't the problem. It's the signal, the revelation, the test. And your inability to handle it with strength and clarity is the lesson. Until you stop blaming her, you'll keep bowing to an illusion. You'll keep thinking freedom means possession, when it actually means indifference. Indifference, not in apathy, but in power. Indifference that says, I see you. You're beautiful, but I don't need you to breathe. That's what makes a man unshakable. Not conquest, not seduction, control. And it starts by taking her off the throne and putting yourself back on it. The first time beauty was tested in human history, a man failed. Adam didn't fall because he was tricked by the serpent. Eve did. Adam fell because he couldn't say no to beauty. He wasn't deceived. He was silent. He watched it all unfold and chose the woman over the word. And just like that, the first man surrendered eternity for a moment with beauty. This isn't just a Bible story. It's a pattern. The fall wasn't just about fruit. It was about a man who knew the truth, saw the woman move in rebellion, and decided he'd rather lose heaven than lose her. Why? Because her beauty wasn't just appealing, it was divine in his eyes. It was a form of worship, and that's what most men still do today. They worship her image. They abandon principle for pleasure. They betray purpose to feel chosen, if only for a night. The woman was made for the man, not the man for the woman. And when man loves the creature more than the creator, he falls, minus St. Augustine. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The serpent didn't need to tempt Adam. All he had to do was let Adam watch Eve. That was the real test, not the snake, not the tree, but whether Adam could hold his center when beauty moved in disobedience. He failed, and most men still do, because beauty is not evil. But when a man treats it as sacred, above truth, above God, above self, it becomes an idol, and idols always demand blood. Here's the part most men don't want to hear. You're not addicted to women. You're addicted to being approved of by women. There's a difference. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. That is the nature of living creatures. Friedrich Nietzsche. She doesn't even have to touch you. She just has to smile, laugh at your joke, compliment your shirt, and you feel alive again. Seen, validated, like a man. But if she turns away, grows cold, or looks unimpressed, suddenly your world shakes. Not because she has power, but because you gave her your sense of self. This is the idol of female approval, and it hides in plain sight. It sounds like, If she loves me, I'm worth something. If she chooses me, I'm a real man. If she leaves, I must be broken. That's not love. That's slavery with a smile. You've built your altar in her eyes. You go there every day, sacrificing your integrity, your strength, your peace, just to feel like a man for 5 minutes. And you don't even realize you've handed her the throne God meant for your soul to sit on. But here's the tragedy. Even if she gives you what you want, her affection, her attention, her body, it will never be enough. Because it's not really her you're chasing. It's the part of you that only awakens when she looks your way. And as long as your masculinity depends on her approval, you'll keep chasing mirrors, not meaning. So the question becomes, what would you be without her eyes watching? Could you still be a man when no one is clapping? Samson was the strongest man alive, chosen, set apart. He had a divine calling, a mission etched into his very existence. But he fell, not in battle, not to an army, not to a sword. He fell to beauty, to a woman who didn't love him, to a woman whose loyalty was never to him, only to what she could extract from him. Delilah didn't beat him in strength. She beat him in seduction, in comfort, in softness. In the lie that says, "Lay your head here, strong man, it's safe." And that's exactly what most men do today. You think you're immune because you've read books, hit the gym, watched motivational videos. But when beauty bats her lashes and says, "Tell me your secret," you fold. You tell her too much. You give her too much. You trust too fast. You fall in love with the feeling of being wanted and forget that some women want you weaker, not stronger. The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. Plato. Samson told her the truth. She cut his hair. The Philistines came. And the man who once slaughtered armies with his bare hands was blinded, bound, and mocked. Why? Because he thought beauty meant safety. He mistook comfort for covenant. This is the high price of weakness. You'll give away the very strength God gave you just to feel adored for a moment. And in doing so, you fall, not just as a man, but as a mission. Because Samson's story wasn't just about a man, it was about a calling. And so is yours. Beauty is not your reward, it's your refiner. Most men treat beauty like it's the finish line. If I get her, I've won. If she says yes, I'm worthy. If she desires me, I must be enough. But that's a lie. Because real beauty doesn't crown you, it tests you. It sets fire to your illusions. It reveals what you're made of. And if you're soft, if you're insecure, if your soul has not been forged in deeper truth, you'll melt. You'll become a worshiper instead of a warrior. Think about it. Men don't build temples for money. Men don't write poetry to cars. But for beauty, they'll go to war. They'll betray their morals. They'll sell their vision for a moment of validation. Because they've confused the test with the treasure. But beauty, true beauty, is a furnace. And like every furnace, it has one goal: to burn away the dross, to expose what is unworthy in you, to confront your ego, your fantasies, your hunger for female approval. Søren Kierkegaard once said, "Purity of heart is to will one thing." So when you meet a beautiful woman, don't ask, "How do I get her?" Ask, "What in me is being tested right now?" Because if her presence reveals your desperation, if her smile turns you from purpose to performance, if your worth starts to sway based on whether she looks at you or not, then the furnace is already doing its job, and you're not ready to sit on a throne. Not hers, and certainly not your own. Let's get one thing straight. Not chasing her doesn't make you bitter. Not submitting to her doesn't make you hateful. Not needing her doesn't make you misogynistic. It makes you dangerous. It makes you centered. It makes you free. Because here's the truth. A man who cannot resist beauty is not a free man. He's a slave to flattery, a prisoner of his own thirst. And the worst part? He thinks it's love, when it's actually addiction. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. You were never meant to revolve around a woman's approval. You were meant to revolve around truth. And that truth begins when you can say, "I see your beauty, but I don't need it to validate mine." Most men panic in the presence of a beautiful woman. They either shrink or they perform. They simp or they seduce. But both are forms of submission, not strength. True strength is in restraint. The power to look her in the eye and not flinch. To feel the pull and still stay rooted. To enjoy her presence without trying to possess her. That's not misogyny. That's not incel rage. That's masculine sovereignty. Because here's the test. If your sense of self collapses when she walks away, you were never whole to begin with. So the next time you meet a beautiful woman, don't worship her. Don't chase her. Don't fear her. Resist her. Not out of hate, but out of honor. Not to dominate her, but to not be dominated by your own impulses. That's the real measure of a man. That's what makes her see you and feel something she's never felt before. Respect. She was never the test. You were. Her beauty was just the trigger. A flash of divinity placed in your path, not to be consumed, but to expose what already lives inside you. If your instinct is to chase her, pedestal her, worship her, that doesn't say anything about her. It says everything about you. And this is where most men fail. They think self-control is weakness. They think resistance is repression. They think they're proving something by giving in. But the man who wins is the man who doesn't need to. Because when you finally become the kind of man who doesn't flinch at beauty, who can walk past temptation without losing focus, you become untouchable. You stop being a pawn of your own instincts. You stop giving women the power to validate you. And you start moving through the world with spiritual weight. That's the fire every king walks through. And most men, they burn before they even take the first step. But you're not most men. You're watching this because something inside you knows. You were made for more than chasing approval. You were made to be sovereign. So here's your challenge. Next time beauty crosses your path, don't fall. Don't chase. Don't prove. Pause. Breathe. Observe what rises in you. Because that's the real battlefield. And if you can master yourself there, no woman can master you anywhere. And if this video shook something loose in you, if you're tired of being ruled by the same cycles of lust, need, and longing, then this is just the beginning. Subscribe, because every week we're tearing down illusions and building stronger men. And most importantly, remember this: the fire doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to forge you.